The Class 07s were a batch of 14 060 diesel-electric shunters built by Ruston and Hornsby, and used by British Railways to replace the E2 and S100 tank engines, also known as the bases for Thomas and Rosie respectively, on shunting duties at Southampton docks. The 07s would later be known as the basis for Salty, but tanky stuff aside, these diesels were notable for their off-centre cab and short wheelbase of only 2.629 metres, or 8 foot 7.5 inch, with the short wheelbase being necessary to negotiate the numerous tight curves in Southampton. An issue with their design was their axle boxes, which had a tendency to run hot at higher speeds. This meant that they couldn't venture too far away from their home bases of Southampton or Eastleigh without going by road. Initially, the 07s were numbered from D2985 to D2998, and later given tops numbers running from 07001 to 07014, although 4 members of the class never actually carried their tops numbers. Withdrawals of the Class 07s from BR service began in 1973 and ended in 1977. After that, numerous Class 07s were sold into industrial service, or, in the case of Locomotive 07009, exported to Italy, of all places. Fortunately, 7 locomotives still exist in preservation, with one of them, namely D2991, later 07007, apparently still in use as a shunter at Eastleigh Works, while the other 6 survivors are on heritage lines throughout England. This Class 07 add-on was developed by Skyhook Games and released on Steam in April 2015. Over 11 years later, and the 07 is still available to buy for 24 New Zealand dollars, or around £10, at full price. From what I understand, Skyhook's version wasn't the first instance of a Class 07 being modelled for Train Simulator, as a BR Blue variant had previously been available as part of the Forum Peninsula add-on, which has long since been discontinued. You could also get a rusty/dead variant of the BR Blue Class 07 as part of the Doncaster Works add-on of August 2013, and Donny Works is still available as of mid-August 2026. As for what's included in the add-on from Skyhook, there isn't much beyond the locomotive herself. The base pack only includes one livery, namely BR Green, with wasp stripes at each end. There's a BR Blue reskin, complete with tops numbers, available, but it is sold separately from the main pack as a Steam Marketplace reskin. Of course. Unfortunately, none of the industrial or preservation era liveries worn by Class 07s were included in this pack, and you don't get the dual braked variant with additional air brake pipes. The one variant that you do get only has vacuum brakes. On a personal note, I have seen a single Class 07 in real life, but only when she was parked in the roundhouse at Barrow Hill, so I have no footage of a Class 07 in motion. Incidentally, D2996 has since moved to the Severn Valley Railway. For whatever reason, Skyhook used audio from one of the old RSC era Class 08 add-ons on their 07, even though the 07s and 08s sound nothing alike in real life. For reference, the 07s use 275 horsepower Paxman 6 RPHL engines, while the 08s use 350 horsepower English Electric 6KT engines. As for other observations regarding the sound set on the Class 07 and TS Classic, for one thing, I noticed that the horn makes the locomotive sound like she's sneezing. Bless thee. And when you're driving the Class 07, you sometimes hear that same annoying flange squeal sound that's heard on the Colorado narrow gauge steam locomotives from milepost simulations. When you're driving this diesel shunter, The flange squeal tends to come up only when you're going through tight curves in a yard, and during this run from Maud to Peterhead, I didn't end up getting any flange squeal on the broader curves. In real life, the 07s have a top speed of 27.5 miles per hour, which is faster than the Class 08's top speed of only 15 miles per hour, albeit at the expense of a lower tractive effort than the Class 08. The in-game physics are unrealistic for a Class 07, as this thing appears incapable of exceeding 19.6 miles per hour on level track, even with the throttle at full power, so it makes me wonder what's going on with the physics. Not helping the situation is the Class 07 being devoid of any particularly advanced features. You can't even open the cab side doors and windows. On a personal note, and in an effort to bring something more positive to the discussion, sitting in this cab view reminds me of the diesel shunters whose cabs I've visited in real life. Case in point, ANG Price Model 12 number 212. The Class 07 from Skyhook also includes some rolling stock in the form of OAA, PGA, and PCA wagons. That's the OAA behind the locomotive, PCA closest to the camera, and PGA in that siding behind the locomotive. Your mileage may vary, but personally, I can't help thinking that these wagons look out of place when they're hauled behind a shunter that's wearing BR green. In any case, I don't know if these wagons were new to TS in 2015 or just recycled from existing add-ons. Lastly, the Class 07 is supplied with 4 career mode scenarios for the old West Somerset Railway route of November 2013. To be honest, I wasn't interested in revisiting the default scenarios for this review, not just because the WSR route is really outdated at this point, but also because I generally don't care for default scenarios anymore. I initially thought that the 07 was out of place on the West Somerset Railway, but to be fair, one member of this class, namely D2994, later 07010, was originally preserved on the WSR in real life. However, she has since been moved to the Avon Valley Railway southeast of Bristol. Also, it's worth mentioning that I can barely see the 07's underframe detail, even on the sunlit side. There are other diesels in the game that don't have this issue. In closing, and to be brutally honest, I am of the opinion that Skyhook's Class 07 add-on for TS Classic is below average, and not worth the full asking price of 24 New Zealand dollars. As such, I wouldn't recommend it to other TS Classic players. The add-on could have been improved by adding more liveries with the base pack, instead of only doing BR green and selling the BR blue one separately, using sounds that were actually recorded from a real Class 07, as opposed to mostly using recycled Class 08 sounds, and making the 07 more advanced where features are concerned, thus making the driving experience less basic and a bit more interesting. As for where I'd rate the Class 07 add-on as it currently stands, I think I'll give it 4 out of 10. If you've stuck around to the end of the video, you win a set of 4 jackets from the Newcastle area, with the jackets being red, green, blue, and yellow. It's the colour coats of colour coats.